There are 3 distinct forms of inspiration to experience at the Chelsea Flower Show. On one level, there are the mind-blowing types of grand-scale bespoke ideas that in reality most of us can only dream of installing in our own gardens, but which never fail to thrill us, capture the imagination, and contribute to the whole sense of theatre. For example, in the Transcendence Garden, an airy avenue of honey locust trees leads to dramatic cantilevered architecture, framing the leafy canopy above and twinkling with reflected light from gently rippling water below. The Royal Entomological Society Garden, designed by Tom Massey, features a unique outdoor insect laboratory with a fabulously funky and boldly beautiful domed roof, inspired by the structure of a compound insect eye and the ethereal iridescence of insect shells. In the magical and evocatively named A Letter from a Million Years Past, designed by Jihae Hwang, the ancient geology and endangered plants of South Korea's mother mountain, Chirisan, were recreated in the heart of London, complete with the fairy tale feel of a traditional medicinal herb drying tower. On a different level, there are the kind of eye-opening, community-minded social commentaries that inspire us to think about the impact of gardens, their importance for all members of society, and to recognise the need for change. The Green Gap Garden offered a stark concrete cube erupting with pavement weeds and wildflowers, designed by Grow to Know, which is led by gardener and founder Tayshan Hayden Smith and garden designer Danny Clark, highlighting the uncomfortable disparity in available green space between affluent and economically deprived areas of central London. And then comes the third level of inspiration, which gives visitors the achievable kinds of aesthetically appealing and ecologically friendly ideas, which you immediately can't wait to try out in your own garden, patio or balcony, or in the garden of a friend or family member who's looking for a little motivating inspiration. So here are 10 of our favourite take-home ideas from RHS Chelsea 2023. Yellow paint. In recent years in the UK, black, olive, blue and grey paints and wood stains have become increasingly popular garden choices for fences and sheds. But the Fauna and Flora Garden, which recreates the experience of an eco-tourist on a gorilla trek, left us wondering why yellow isn't embraced more readily. Wow, look at this. The beautiful impact with blue-toned eucalyptus leaves and flame lily flowers is completely fabulous. Just imagine lighting up a partly shaded space with this sunny yellow as the backdrop to highlight lush blue-toned hosta leaves and vibrant Nyphophia, the red-hot poker plant. This yellow kiosk provided a whole new colour palette possibility for the garden. Deck chair stripes and bold colour blocks. The deck chair stripes at Chelsea were not actually to be found on the deck chairs, but rather in the joyful Garden of Unity, designed by Manoj Malde, which featured eye-catching stripes in predominantly bright pink and orange, inspired by the boldness of sari fabric. By alternating vivid colours on fence pales or panels around the garden at home, this playful way of celebrating colour could be replicated in all or just a portion of the garden, making a fabulous foil for green foliage and showcasing the subtlety of white, cream and lime flowers. Add colour coordinated cushions for a cohesive and welcoming look. Take inspiration from recycled oil drums, exuberantly decorated as eye-catching planters. Evergreens like conifers work particularly well in front of bold colours, which the Teapot Trust Elsewhere Garden demonstrated perfectly with its dramatic colour block backdrop used to highlight characterful Norway spruce. Layered narratives. In the Savills Garden, Mark Gregory has created the walled kitchen garden of a country hotel, where converted potting shed outbuildings host a working professional kitchen and a sunken seasonal dining area for guests who can gaze out onto the potager while enjoying the very produce harvested fresh that morning. So the narrative is of a well-tended and constantly used functional, sustainable horticultural space. And yet, as visitors approach this garden along Main Avenue, the very first impression is of wildness. There are foxgloves growing around the periphery, sprouting up in the shade of native hawthorn bushes and intermingled with ferns. As nature creeps in from outside, foxgloves have seeded themselves all along the hedge line. These two narratives, one of wildness and one of cultivation, create layered stories to the garden and give it more depth and romance. There is a real sense of the country setting, and while many of us have a dedicated, slightly wilder area in our gardens, isn't it usually at some shady far corner that we weren't quite sure what else to do with? What we took from Mark Gregory's design is that with purposeful wilder planting, with an unmissable presence that runs all around the margins of the garden, there are not just wildlife benefits, but a kind of magic about the way this envelops the more formal, tended areas. And this kind of planting scheme would make a new build garden, for example, very quickly feel long established, as well as guaranteeing it would be long loved. Inside out. Studies suggest that not only is physical engagement with gardening linked to health and well-being, but simply spending as much leisure time as possible outside in the garden is also highly beneficial. And the London Square Community Garden, designed by James Smith, encourages exactly that. Surrounded by raised beds of edibles, it has an outdoor kitchen and communal table inset with chess and draughts boards. Outdoor chess seems to be having a moment. We've noticed quite a few garden tables at plant fairs this year. There's a shady space to relax and lose yourself in a good book, and an outdoor bookcase on hand to make a selection. The Folio Society's reading room, designed by Katherine, Holland, also encourages a sense of calm and well-being in a space that celebrates both the benefits of reading and of time spent outdoors. A comfy chair, gentle shade, calming colours, natural textures, softly swaying grasses, and the soothing sound of a bubbling water feature are all elements to add for a tranquil outdoor reading room. Sissinghurst style. In the Transcendence Garden, soft and subtle planting is punctuated by yew domes and bright highlights, animated by textural, light-filtering grasses, creating an ethereal yet grounded landscape where the floral star catching everyone's attention is the beautiful hardy annual poppy, Papaver somniferum Sissinghurst White, bred from those originally found in the White Garden at the world-famous Sissinghurst Castle in Kent, created by Vita Sackville-West and Harold Nicholson. These would look equally stunning in a sleek, modern or informal cottage garden setting, and after flowering, the seed heads can be left as an architectural element in the garden or used decoratively as a dried flower. Conceal and reveal. Some of the magic of A Letter from a Million Years Past is in the mystery of what lies beyond. So much is intriguingly concealed from the eye by layers of rock and the natural screen of leafy planting that the garden only reveals itself as it's journeyed through by foot with an immersive perspective. By concealing parts of our own gardens from immediate view, a sense of anticipation is generated before entering, and a secluded private space away from more communal areas is achieved. This can be accomplished with the use of clever screening shrubs and climbers, as in the London Square Community Garden, or by taking inspiration from the privacy-providing, pleasingly eclectic collection of tiered planters in the St George Jilayne balcony garden, which includes repurposed waste bins as planters. The Hamptons Mediterranean Garden uses warm-toned and interestingly textured dividing walls to separate an outdoor entertaining area from a secluded, peaceful space for a slower pace of life, and the added delight is that the scent of aromatic herbs will have greater intensity in a more confined space. The gorgeous, cool tones of silver foliage contrast beautifully with the warm, earthy-toned architecture. If you're interested in more information on drought-tolerant Mediterranean-inspired planting, please find some links to our videos below.
And then going into that water box there, and then goes back into the water and test the pump and saturation.
Shelve it. If you run out of patio space for planters, as we have, put up some shelves. We particularly love these illusory floating stone shelves displaying bowls of succulents at the Natural Affinity Garden for aspens. The supporting metal frame is hidden in the hornbeam, allowing the shelving to hover above the carved stone seat, and it is only on closer inspection that the solid seat itself is revealed to incorporate an unexpected and soothing surprise with water gently flowing over one side. Gothic drama. The Samaritan's Listening Garden represents the courageous journey taken by people who reach out for those who will listen in their darkest times, and through talking to a trained volunteer find new perspective. It's an unsettling yet beautiful garden, full of Gothic mystery, with structures evoking different things to different people. A collection of giant rodent skulls, a series of half-planed scholar stones, clouds, crumbling cliffs, an abandoned Mediterranean village, a Roman naval fort. It has the same otherworldly quality that you find in a stumpery, where the eerie forms of upturned architectural tree roots make the surrounding planting all the more beautiful. The way it fired visitors' imaginations and different interpretations in unique and idiosyncratic ways reminds us to be bold in the garden and take design risks, because the inherent beauty of plants will soothe us in even the quirkiest of spaces. Healing waters. The sound of water has been described as the harbinger of physical and psychic wholeness, and at Chelsea we're the grateful audience to nature's music, and one of the greatest composers has to be designer Kazuyuki Ishihara, whose biophilia garden encourages direct connection with nature, embracing its calming and healing potential. Beneficial qualities of water also extend beyond the acoustic appeal, and something as simple in our own gardens as a shallow dish of rainwater can draw in wildlife and connect us to the natural world. In the Nurture Landscapes Garden by Sarah Price, bowls of still water made from recycled and repurposed waste aggregate make the presence of unbroken water beautifully effective, calm and stylish. Elsewhere at Chelsea, water features were designed with personal and meaningful references, which added an extra layer of significance. Horatio's Garden by Charlotte Harris and Hugo Pug is designed to be accessible, enjoyable and restorative for hospital patients with spinal injuries and to accommodate wheelchairs and beds. There's a pretty plantscape that feels fresh and alive, with a gently uplifting rather than overpowering colour palette, offering a sense of softness and movement. The unique design of the gently brimming water table, which reflects light and provides shimmering motion as well as soothing sound, features intriguing casts of original dyes from the cutlery industry, chosen to reflect the industrial heritage of Sheffield, where the garden will be relocated permanently to the city's RHS Spinal Injuries Centre. We found the dyes fascinating and rather poignant, with memories of body casts taken for a very young family member after spinal surgery, and some wry surgical humour too, with the reliefs on the table including knives. If you'd like to learn more about the work of this amazing healing charity and about the legacy of teenager Horatio Chapel, please find the link below. According to social research, 94% of British people will have conversed about the weather in the last 4 hours. Rain is a particular obsession. There's too much, then there's too little, and it usually happens during outdoor summer spectacles like Wimbledon, Glastonbury and the Chelsea Flower Show, although not this year. So it's completely fitting that in the Boodles British Craft Garden, designed by Tom Hoblyn, there is a shallow pool of water broken by raindrops splashing on the surface that emulates the transition from the first gentle drops, eventually building to a downpour. It's entirely enchanting and was created by sculptor Bamber Wallace, though its mesmeric simplicity and naturalness was achieved through a complex feat of engineering and technology. This gorgeous garden, which celebrates British craftspeople and the stylized depiction of nature by the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood painters, also features a fairy tale turret tiled with a partial canopy of leaves that would not offer much protection in the rain, but would leave you embracing all weathers just to use something so lovely. Chelsea's Big Wild World. Native British wildflowers are championed all over Chelsea this year, and red campion is a particular charmer, adding its dainty presence to gardens, floral installations and showcase sculptures in natural materials. The RSPCA Garden, designed by Martin Wilson, features native trees to support birdlife and encourages visitors to plant upliftingly colourful wildflowers amongst cottage garden favourites, including bursts of sunshine from meadow buttercups. Elegant umbellifers like sweet Sicily and cow parsley are precious nectar sources for some of nature's great pest predators, including lacewings, ladybirds and hoverflies. So by including these wildflowers in our gardens, we can encourage predators and help control garden pests the way nature intended, as well as enjoying the flowers' aesthetic charm. One of our favourite UK natives, utterly adored by bumblebees, is the perennial Welsh poppy featured in the Centrepoint Garden by Cleve West, which comes in yellow-petalled form or an orange variant and looks fabulous in contrast with the stained glass leaves of red orich, also known as French spinach, or at Chelsea, Atriplex hortensis rubra. It's a hot trend right now in designer gardens. The Royal Entomological Society garden encouraged us to think about leaving piles of dead wood in the garden, even heaps of rubble and sand, to provide numerous and varied habitats for insects. And Tom Massey managed to make the ugliest of materials look both beautiful and interesting, but at home, stacked tree prunings or piles of unwanted building materials could be left unobtrusively under shrubs or at the back of a border. Sand or rubble can even be heaped inside pretty plant pots and containers for deluxe insect homes, and a surprising number of wild plants can, over time, seed themselves in this most inhospitable environment. Provide a pond where possible for insect, avian and amphibian life to thrive. Or cram steel gabions with rubble for wildlife habitat that doubles as garden seating, and sit back, relax and enjoy what you've helped nature create and reclaim.
It's really nice.
It's lovely.